where the programming is pulling the data from is safety stock and forecast. Safety stock is usually contingent on quantity on hand and sales demand based on your lead time. So you would need to calculate that. I'm trying to figure out, or I'm asking how does Vicinity actually do that, or if it's some manual input.
Right.
And also the forecast, what flexibility you have towards modeling and stuff like that.
Good. So in both cases, it's more simplistic than you might think. Let me just talk about kind of what it's really doing. So the safety stock, you all are GP, right?
Yeah.
So on the item resource planning screen, which is part of GP, they're the same place you set up vendor lead times. You can set up a safety stock. There's a safety stock field there. That's what we're reading.
Okay, so it's a manual input.
It is. And I'll talk about my theory on safety stock here in just a second, because it's a little different than I think you see it, which is okay. I'll just share with you my opinion. Forecast is a simple table that can be imported from a number of different sources. We have a number of people that are using Excel for forecasting, and we've got a tool, we've got a button, whatever you want to call it, that you can put on your spreadsheet and put it up into our table. And if you're interested in seeing, I guess if you're not, I'm controlling the computer. So. It always drives me crazy. There it goes. All right. Now, I'm pretty sure you're not seeing my screen yet. See in Excel? Good. All right, so this is just an Excel spreadsheet. It could just easily be yours, where you've got inventory items, dates, and the quantities that are being forecasted. A lot of people that are doing forecasting in Excel, it ends up looking something like this at the end of the day. What the magic of this is, we've added a button. If I were to open up the code behind it, you'd find about 10 or 15 lines of code, of which we're happy to share with you and happy to set it up on your spreadsheet. So you hit that button and it populates up into our forecast table, which is a really simple table with an item, a location, a date, and a quantity, basically. Okay? So pretty straightforward. We're not trying to do forecasting. We're not trying to do trending. We're not trying to do things like that. There are some great applications in the Dynamics community, all the products that do forecasting, and we'd rather just leverage off of that, which they're doing. Kind of back to safety stock. I'm not going to belabor the point because it definitely is a theory, but let me share with you my theory and my concept on this. I completely agree with you that a lot of people use safety stock as a function of quantity on hand, amount of usage in a time period, and lead time. Completely agree with you that that is a way to do it. When you have MRP, you will find that that number will inflate your lead time and inflate your safety stock. It doesn't need to be as high as that will drive it out to be. But yes, you could certainly set it that way, and it is manual to get to your original question. You put it into GP. My theory is this, is that safety stock is a function of variability of the item. So let's take an example. Let's assume for a minute I've got an item that I'm forecasting, and I know for the last 100 years, we have sold 100 units every month. It's never changed. It's never been 99. It's never been 101. It's always been 100. And you know that with absolute certainty. What safety stock would you need? 0. Because there is no possibility that it's going to be anything but 100. Now, it doesn't exist in the real world. I'm just making an example. However, let's take another item that every month is different. You've got one month is 0, another month is 1 million, another month is 50, another month is 100,000, etc. And there's no real pattern associated with it. Your safety stock for that item is probably going to be pretty big, depending on the volumes. If I put 1 million there, of course, that was a crazy number. But whatever, you're going to have a safety stock that is probably getting close to what you're talking about, because there's no way to get comfort as to what the numbers are going to be. In that scenario, what you're really looking at is the variability of the swings that we've got. So really it becomes how many standard deviations from the mean are you interested in, quantity of sales or shipment in a time period. So that's what safety stock is really, is a measurement of the variability of how inventory swings. So you set your safety stock to cover X number of deviations, how comfortable you want to be that every order coming in is going to be fulfilled.
Yeah, and actually, you could actually go back to costing, and you could assign a cost for having unfulfilled orders, for example, so for a given period of time.
There is a great tool out there that I will plug called RockySoft that does that exact same thing. And they've taken this to a science. What they're doing is looking back at history, and they're running back through your sales order processing history, and they're running your trends for every single item, and for every item matching it up to it creates an algorithm for every item to predict moving forward on an item-by-item basis what it's going to be. And some variables that you can deal with are things like carrying costs, because that becomes critical. Confidence, customer satisfaction, what level, what's the probability that when a sales order comes in that you're going to be able to fulfill it. If you get to 100, that safety stock's going to get high. If you're willing to accept 90% confidence, it goes lower. It's those are standard deviations, really is what we're talking about. And so you've got levers that you can do. What it does is every single item, it will calculate things like a safety stock and a forecast and all of that. So they've done the math associated with it.
What's that plugin called?
It's called RockySoft. RockySoft. They're out of Colorado, somewhere Golden or somewhere. Anyway, they've been at a few focuses in the past. They're good friends. I really recommend them. There's another one on the market also called Demand Solutions. I don't have a lot of experience with them, but I hear good things. And some of our brewery clients are using them. That's how I know them. And I think both of them have VIP connections for the brewery side as well. So that sort. Okay, does that help?
Yeah. Okay,
good. So end of the day, safety stock is manual, at least from Vicinity's perspective, but there are tools to help you deal with that and manage that. Okay. You know, PowerPoint is great for presenting as long as you don't ever want to leave PowerPoint. and try to keep it all in sync. That was the raw material. Oh, and then an intermediate, we just take this to the ridiculous end, and that is, this is an item that we make that could be used, i.e. it's an intermediate, and it can also be sold. So all we've really done is introduced both the sales and both sides, the sales and production demand, we're just adding numbers to both. But it's the same math associated with it. Taking us back to the original slide. Okay, so once you take it apart, it's not as quite as overwhelming, I hope. End result is a planned order. That's what you keep your eye on, is this planned order. And what you're going to find out is that we can take that planned order and we can turn it into a batch ticket, and you can use it to create a purchase order. So, all right, any questions on that, on the engine of MRP? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to start talking about what you do with MRP next, okay? Because it's run, and it's made some suggestions, and then we're going to try to figure out, all right, what do we do with it? Some people use MRP, some people manually schedule. So we're kind of stepping, maybe, MRP to me is a tool used by scheduling. I'm going to knock out the raw material side first because it's easier, just to mention. We are not creating POs automatically. It's been a fun bone of contention for probably 10 years. I've got a really close friend as a client. There's a fun joke I'll tell you about at the end at the pub reception tonight if you're interested. But we intentionally chosen not to generate POs because honestly, no disrespect to me or to Seth, I don't think we would get it right. Because I don't think it's not because we don't have the ability. I think there's just too much variability. And I think we mess it up. And you wouldn't use it, and we would spend 3 months writing it, and it wouldn't go anywhere. So what we've been waiting for, and it seems to start coming along, is for the purchasing side of Dynamics to handle it. In other words, for us to tell the purchasing side of Dynamics, hey, there's a requirement here, and allow the purchasing side to handle that. Because if there's anybody here that spends any time in purchasing, the challenges that exist in us just creating a PO are things like, all right, you need 10,000 units. Let's assume for a minute we can tell you need 10,000 units. And let's assume that 10,000 units is a reasonable order size, because we can control that too. Who are you going to buy it from? Are you going to buy it from one supplier, or are you going to intentionally split it to multiple suppliers? What's going to happen with the price associated with it? If you have a contract associated with it, are you going to split contracts associated with it? Are you going to add more because you want a truckload? You can just see the number of permutations that go through that. And I've got all the respect in the world for the purchasing agents in your companies for those reasons. That's what they do for a living. So, in my mind, a better model is for us to hand to a tool that can create POs taking all that into consideration. Those products have existed for a long time. There's, in the GP world, there's a tool called RecLogic, there's one in the solid world, one in the NAV world, that basically do that. They basically take requisitions from outside sources, and the purchasing person can look at it and go, all right, I'm going to buy from that one, I'm going to buy from that one, and they kind of wave their magic wand and POs start getting created. There have been tools in the market for 15 years to do that. We don't have any clients that I know of that are really kind of beating down to use those or are using those. I don't know that we are innovating any of those, but we could. GP has led the charge, I think, and NAV, I think we're probably shortly behind it, and probably SL, in having a tool for this inside their own application. If I speak GP for a second, in GP 2013 R2, I think is what it was, which was a little bit ago, 9 months ago, maybe a year ago. They released a PO requisition module, which was kind of an introduction to what I'm talking about. Where, without MRP for a second, if you needed a stapler, a desk, or whatever, you would sit down at your computer in GP and create a requisition. You're not creating a PO, you're just telling somebody, hey, I need a desk. You think that'd be obvious. I need a desk. And it shows up on the procurement person's screen, and they start kind of doing their magic and fulfill the requisition and create a PO and do approvals and all that kind of stuff. So with each release on the GP side, it's getting better and better, and it's getting more and more mature as clients are using it and giving feedback, etc. And so I think our right place on the PO side is to right to that table, is to create our planned order and send that to the requisition table and let the procurement person manage the requisition process using our MRP planned orders as requisitions.
So it's almost like a shopping cart form.
Yes, yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. It's called purchase requisitions on the GP side. I think NAV either has it or is getting there on the NAV side. Requisition worksheet. So it's absolutely something that we'd look to enter in if that's going to be helpful to you guys on the NAV side. And I think Solomon may be having something similar. So that's our direction on that. You would be amazed at the number of RFPs and the number of demos that I do where somebody goes, oh, you don't create a PO? All right, let me tell you why we don't create a PO. And it would just take this forward. Send it back to them. But that's why. And I think it's supported by virtually every purchasing person I've ever spoken with. That model makes some sense. So that's kind of our plan on that. When the right time comes about, if you think now is the right time, please bring it up to us. We have a developer roundtable tomorrow, which is a great time, a great forum to start bringing some of those things up. We have that in our sites. So the other one, the one that we really do a lot with, is the production side. And so we have a planned order that's now been created based on the MRP regeneration, and it is a planned order. Now, a planned order can be generated by MRP. It can also be generated manually. I'm going to go back into Vicinity now. I think that was the last of my slides. Yep. And if you're interested in that flow, I'll be happy to make this and the accounting flow and all that available to you.